Welcome to the Global AI Engineer. I'm your host, Marcel Masaga. In our journey of building truly effective AI, there's this one critical step, a step that gets overlooked all the time. But it can make all the difference between a project that actually gets out into the world and one that just, dies on a hard drive. It's a fundamental lesson, really, that separates the builders who make an impact from those who just make plans. Today, we are going to zero in on that crucial step. Phase 4, building your first basic agent.
So let me tell you a story. It's a recent one, and it's a story I see play out way too often. Just last month, a brilliant engineer in Nairobi, someone I've mentored and have just immense respect for. He spent 3 weeks of just intense, late-night coding. Fueled by coffee and sheer ambition, he was building what he called his masterpiece. It was an AI agent with persistent memory, 10 different integrated tools, a really complex multi-agent orchestration system. On paper, this thing was a technical marvel. The architecture? Elegant. The code? Clean. But it had one single fatal flaw. It never shipped.
Why? Really, why does this happen so often? It's a question that honestly kind of haunts our industry. We see it all the time, right? A talented builder, a powerful idea, they've got access to all the modern tools and frameworks, and yet, after all that effort, after all those sacrificed weekends, there's nothing tangible to show for it, nothing in the hands of users. It's just a story of unfulfilled potential, a quiet tragedy in the world of innovation. And the thing is, it's almost always preventable.
He skipped phase 4, build your first basic agent. And look, I want to be crystal clear about this. This failure was not because he lacked skill or ambition. That engineer is one of the brightest I know. No, the failure was rooted in a fundamental mistake in his process. It was a single, strategic error in the sequence of building that just dooms projects before they even really get going. Today, I'm going to show you how to avoid that exact error. I'm going to show you how to build a real, working agent in under 2 hours using free tools with no cloud credits needed and zero venture capital. This isn't about building at scale, not yet. It's about the foundational act of shipping something that acts, not just something that talks.
For those of you who are new here, my name's Marcel Masaga. I'm an AI engineer, a 5-time founder, and a fractional CTO. For over 20 years, I've been right here in the trenches, building real-world AI systems. My work has covered everything from life-saving diagnostic tools used in remote East African clinics, where resources are scarce and, reliability is literally a matter of life and death, all the way to bootstrap startups that have gone on to win global awards. I've mentored founders, advised investors, and served on 5 global AI ethics bodies. And through all of that, I've been driven by one central question. How do we build AI that doesn't just work in a lab, but that truly matters in the real world? This is the Global AI Engineer, the place where we cut through the hype, think a little deeper about our craft, and build wiser in this incredible age of AI.
Okay, let's dive in. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to dissect the over-engineered failure, really get into the psychology of why we fall into this trap. Then we'll explore what I call the Frugal Builder's Advantage, a mindset that's going to fundamentally change how you approach your projects. After that, I'll give you a super practical 3-step blueprint you can use right away. And then we're going to get our hands dirty. I'll walk you through building a simple agent in just minutes. We'll also cover 4 common beginner traps so you can sidestep them. And finally, we'll talk about why taking this first small step is, believe it or not, your freedom.
So let's start by looking closer at this problem, right? The trap of over-engineering. The story of that engineer in Nairobi, that's not some isolated incident. I've seen it happen in garages in Lagos, in co-working spaces in Cape Town, and even in the gleaming, well-funded offices of Silicon Valley. It's a universal pattern. It's like this siren song that tempts us builders to create our magnum opus on day one. It whispers that your first version has to be perfect, feature-complete, and scalable to millions. But true mastery, as we're about to see, doesn't begin with complex architecture. It begins with simple, focused, relentless execution.
So what's the alternative to this path of over-engineering and, failure? It's what I call the Frugal Builder's Advantage. At my company, SIHA AI, every single engineer, I don't care if they came from Google with a decade of experience or have a PhD from Stanford, starts right here. Their very first task is to build a one-task agent and ship it. We do this because we've learned a fundamental and sometimes painful truth. Mastery begins with execution, not architecture. It starts with the visceral act of shipping, not just the intellectual art of planning. So with that in mind, let's build.
Now this slide, I think, really lays out the profound contrast here. It's 2 totally different philosophies of creation. On one side, you have what I'll call the Silicon Valley approach, often fueled by just massive amounts of venture capital.
This model pushes you to build a full-stack agent from day one. It's a culture of go big or go home, right? Huge scale, massive funding, and this immense pressure to build the perfect, all-encompassing solution before you even have a single user. The result? You overbuild, which leads to delays, which more often than not leads to failure. On the other side, you've got the Nairobi approach, a philosophy born from necessity but perfected into a strategy. In this model, we build one-task agents. We ship them immediately to real users. We build, we test with actual people who will use the tool, and then we ship again. It's this rapid, tight cycle of action, not prolonged, expensive speculation.
So it's really crucial to get why this frugal approach is so powerful. There are 3 key advantages here. First is speed. By building small, you just accelerate your learning curve exponentially. I once saw a team learn more about their users in 1 afternoon after shipping a simple SMS-based agent than they had in 3 months of formal market research. Second, clarity. When your agent only does one thing, it's incredibly easy to isolate what works and, maybe more importantly, what doesn't. If a simple weather agent fails, you know the problem is probably with the weather API call. If a complex 10-tool agent fails, well, you could spend days debugging. Complexity hides problems, simplicity reveals them. And third, trust. This one is absolutely vital. Users will forgive and even champion a simple agent that reliably does one thing well. Think of a calculator. It's simple, it works every time, and we trust it. But people will quickly abandon a complex agent that consistently fails. Reliability builds trust, and trust is the foundation of any successful product.
Okay, let me make this super concrete for you. At SIHA AI, our very first agent was a ridiculously simple currency converter. The input was a text string, convert 1,000 KES to USD. The tool we used, a free public exchange rate API. And the output was a clean, simple answer. 1,000 KES equals $7.42. Now I want you to notice what's missing. There was no memory, no user login. In that first version, there wasn't even an LLM involved. It was just a straight line, input to tool to output. A simple script, but it worked. It was reliable. And that one small victory did something incredible for our team. It wasn't just a technical win, it was a psychological one. It built the confidence for us to build the next, slightly more complex agent, and then the one after that. It was the first step on the ladder.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the core challenge I'm putting to you today. Don't build your dream agent. Not yet. That grand vision is important. It's your North Star, but it is not where you start. Your first step is not a leap. It's a single, deliberate movement. Build your first agent. Get that first one on the board. Ship something, anything that acts. So now that we get the why starting small is so critical, let's move on to the how. And you don't need to guess how to do this. I'm going to give you a simple, proven blueprint. I want you to just forget all the complex 12-factor frameworks you see debated endlessly on Twitter and Hacker News. This is a 3-step build framework that we have tested, refined, and deployed across 14 different projects in East Africa, from healthcare to finance. It's not theoretical, it's built for action.
Here it is, and I really want you to notice how elegantly simple it is. The framework is just 3 steps. Step 1, pick one tiny task. This is all about defining your scope. Step 2, choose your tools, with a heavy emphasis on free and frugal options. This is about removing barriers. And step 3, write the minimal prompt. This is about clear instruction. That's it. This isn't rocket science, but sticking to its simplicity is revolutionary in a world that constantly pushes for more complexity. Let's break each one down.
All right, step 1 is all about scope, and it is the most important. You have to pick one tiny task. Your criteria here are simple. It has to be simple to explain, it has to be measurable, so you know for sure if it worked or failed, right? It either got the weather right or it didn't, and it has to be at least a little bit useful to someone. Think of things like converting currency, summarizing the first paragraph of an email, or checking the weather. And here's the rule of thumb that will save you from that siren song of overengineering. If it takes a human less than 10 seconds to do, it's a perfect candidate for your first agent. This simple constraint forces you to be ruthless with your focus. It stops you from trying to boil the ocean on your first attempt.
Step 2 is about your toolkit. And I want to bust a common myth right now. You do not need access to GPT-4 or expensive cloud credits to start building meaningful agents. For your large language model, use the free tier of GPT 3.5, or a fast, cheap model like Claude Haiku, or a powerful open source model like Llama 3. For your tool, find a free public API. There are literally thousands of them for weather, stock prices, Wikipedia, you name it. A simple Google search for free public APIs will give you a whole list. For your environment, keep it simple.
Use a free online coding environment like Replit or Vercel, or just run a simple Python script on your laptop. In Malawi, we built our first proof of concept for a public health agent entirely on Replit, which is free. The point is this: cost should never be the barrier that keeps you from starting.
Okay, step 3 is about instruction, writing the minimal prompt. You can use the 4-pillar framework we've talked about before, but the key here is to be incredibly concise and direct. Here's a perfect example. You are a currency converter. Goal: convert any amount from KES to major currencies. Use tool: exchangerate-api.com. Output: XKES equals YUSD. Never guess. Let's just break that down real quick. You've given it a persona. You are a currency converter. You've given it a goal: convert any amount. You've given it a specific tool it has to use. You've specified the exact output format, and you've added a critical constraint: never guess. There's no memory, no fancy UI, just a crystal clear instruction to get from a task to a tool to a result.
Now, theory is good, but practice is always better. The abstract gets real when you see it in action. So let's build something together, right now. In this section, I'm going to walk you through the exact steps to build a simple but fully functional weather agent in just a few minutes. I want you to really see and feel just how achievable this is.
Our task is simple and relatable, a perfect example of a 10-second task. The user input is going to be, what's the weather in Nairobi? Our agent's job is to take this natural language query, use a real-world tool to find the current accurate answer, and then provide a structured response. It's a classic agentic loop. It has to perceive the user's intent, reason about which tool to use, and act by calling that tool and formatting the response.
Here are the 5 actionable steps to get this done. First, you're going to go to the OpenWeather API website and sign up for a free API. This takes about 2 minutes and gives your agent the superpower to access real-time weather data for the whole planet. Second, open up a free account on Replit and create a new Python project. This gives you a complete coding environment in your browser, no setup needed. Third, you'll write that minimal prompt we just talked about. Tell the LLM its name, its purpose, how to behave. Fourth, and this is the core logic, you'll write just a few lines of Python to connect the tool, the API call, to the LLM. And finally, the most satisfying part, you'll hit run and test your agent. And this right here, this is what the heart of your agent, its digital brain, looks like. It's the prompt. Here it is, written as a Python string. You are a weather assistant. Goal: tell the user the current weather in their city. Use tool: OpenWeather API city. Output: in city, it is temp degrees Celsius. And description: never make up weather. This simple block of text tells the LLM everything it needs to know. When it sees a query like weather in Nairobi, it knows its job is to call the function we've defined called OpenWeather API with the parameter Nairobi, and then take the result it gets back and format it exactly like we said. It's a beautiful, simple, and powerful instruction. So what's the total time investment here? To go from zero, from a blank screen, to a working agent that can check the weather anywhere in the world? Is it 3 weeks of late nights like our friend in Nairobi? 3 days? No, it's 20 minutes. From signing up for the API to running your first successful test, you can have a functional agent in less time than it takes to watch a sitcom. Just think about the power, the momentum that comes from that.
And what about the cost? What's the budget? How much do you need in cloud credits or subscription fees to make this happen? $0. $0, 0 shillings, 0 anything. By using free tiers and Frugal tools, the only investment is 20 minutes of your time and your focus. This completely democratizes the ability to build. You don't need to be funded by a VC to start creating value in the world.
Let's talk about the impact of this 20-minute $0 exercise, because this is the crucial point I really want you to get. You haven't just built another chatbot that can have a clever conversation. You have built a real agent that acts. See, a chatbot is a conversational partner. It just manipulates language. An agent is a digital employee. It uses tools to accomplish tasks in the world. It perceives a need, it uses a tool to interact with the outside world, and it accomplishes a task. This is the fundamental difference between a parrot and a problem solver, and it's a massive leap in your journey as a builder.
All right, now that you've seen how simple it can be to start, it's just as important to know the common pitfalls that can derail you. The path is simple, but it's not without its traps. So think of this next section as your cheat sheet, a map of the landscape showing you where the dangers are so you can learn from the mistakes of others instead of having to make them all yourself. Let's look at the 4 most common beginner traps and, more importantly, the simple, frugal fixes to avoid them.
The first and most seductive trap is over-engineering, the one we've been talking about. That temptation to add memory, a fancy UI, multi-step reasoning from the start. The fix? Ship the 20-minute version first.
Only add complexity when real users ask for it, not because you think it's cool. The second trap is ignoring error handling. What happens when the weather API is down, or the user asks for a city that doesn't exist? Your agent crashes. A fragile agent is a useless agent. The fix is simple. Add a basic fallback message like, "I'm sorry, the weather service seems to be down. Please try again in a bit." It's not elegant, but it's robust. Trap 3. Skipping real user testing. It works perfectly on your machine, but does it work for anyone else? The fix. Give it to 3 real people and ask them one simple question. Did this solve your need? Their answers will be more valuable than a week of your own isolated testing. And finally, trap 4. Using GPT-4 too soon. It's powerful, sure, but using it for a simple task is like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. It wastes tokens, it's slower, and it jacks up costs. The fix. Always start with a cheaper, faster model like GPT 3.5 or Claude Haiku. Only upgrade if the simpler model proves it can't handle the task.
At SIHA AI, we actually have a name for this whole methodology: frugal validation. It's a simple, powerful process. You build the smallest possible thing, you test it with real users, you learn from their feedback, and then you iterate, making it slightly better. This cycle, build, test, learn, iterate, is the engine of progress. It's a virtuous cycle, and it's the direct opposite of that all-too-common failure cycle, which you could call ego-driven development. Plan for months, overbuild based on your own assumptions, delay the launch until it's perfect, and ultimately fail because you built something nobody wanted.
It all comes down to this single, powerful mantra. If you remember nothing else from today's explainer, I want you to remember this. Write it down. Put it on your monitor. Shipping beats perfection every single time. An imperfect solution that's actually in the hands of a user is infinitely more valuable than a perfect solution that only exists on a whiteboard or in your head.
So let's wrap up by elevating this from just a practical tactic to a core philosophy. Because this isn't just about building agents more efficiently. This is about your first step and the profound freedom you gain from taking it. It's about recognizing the immense power you already have, the power of building with what you have, right here, right now.
In Africa, we have a saying and a practice that's born from our context. We don't wait for perfect conditions. We just can't. We don't wait for the next funding round, or for the perfect server infrastructure, or for the latest GPU. We build with what we have: a simple phone, a free API, and a clear, focused task. This mindset is born from necessity, but over time it's become our greatest strength. It's taught us to be resourceful, resilient, and relentlessly focused on delivering real value, not just technical novelty.
And this is the final crucial point I want you to really get. This frugality isn't a limitation. It is freedom. It is freedom from the immense pressure of venture capital that so often demands impossible growth at the cost of thoughtful development. It's freedom from the deafening hype cycle that pushes you to build the next AGI when what your community really needs is just a simple tool that works. And maybe most importantly, it's freedom from the paralysis of overthinking, that fear of not being good enough, the fear of getting it wrong, that keeps so many brilliant builders from ever starting at all.
So I will leave you with this challenge. For every builder, every dreamer, every engineer listening, don't just dream of building AGI. Build your first agent today. Build the 20-minute weather app. Build the currency converter. Build something small, something real. Because the journey to mastering agentic AI, the journey to building things that truly matter, begins not with a grand, abstract vision, but with one small, tangible, shipped task. The only question left is, what will you build today?